Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls of all ages, to Sewerscreens. On today's episode, we are diving deep into the Who incident. This movie was made by Ron Shevlin and Jen Shevlin, and I have to recommend to watch it before you listen to my episode. It has a lot of fun twists and turns and a very unexpected ending. So please, come with me into the sewers of Hollywood to help find the gems that Hollywood has flushed away. The story of this movie is about Ron and Jane as they set up for their 20th anniversary. But as they're setting up for their 20th anniversary, strange things starts happening around their home that seems to be linked to an old toy that used to belong to his dad that they found after Ron brings out a box of his dad's old things. The first incident is Allie goes off randomly, and that happens through the whole movie. So it's not too weird because Allie is a roundup toy. So he goes off randomly, which spooks people when they're not ready for it. But the bulk of the strange things happens to Ron as he's out doing stuff away from his wife. Through the whole movie, he doesn't tell his wife because he don't want her to get panicked because he wants to have their 20th anniversary go on without a hitch. So he keeps it all to himself. Ron's strange encounter starts off with him going to the barn to retrieve an axe because he has to chop wood. As he's out there, something scrapes across the roof. Sounds like a pterodactyl to me. It's really loud scraping, like claw scraping on metal. So he hears that and then he runs outside the barn to see what's going on. There's nothing there. And Ron drinks it off as nothing. He goes, I don't know what that was. So then he takes the axe and he goes chop some wood. Well, when he's out there chopping wood, he gets a call from his dad. He shows us, the audience, the camera, that it's from his dad. He answers it. And his dad's trying to tell him something about the woods. But the phone call's breaking in and out. So Ron doesn't pick up on it. All you hear is him talking, static. And then he goes, woods. And then he goes, wow, that's weird. But like I said, he decides to keep this all away from his wife so she don't get panicked and their anniversary isn't ruined. Strange stuff keeps happening. Like at night, Ron's sleeping and he hears a voice calling to him. So he goes outside and he gets close to the edge of the woods and he goes, who's there? And the voice starts going, come here, Ron, trying to lure him into the woods. But his wife spooks him and she asks what he's doing out here. He tells her nothing. And then they go back inside. Stuff like that happens throughout the entire movie. And then the day of their party, this is weird. The day of their party, people are coming in, but he doesn't want his wife to know people are coming in. So he turns her. So her back's facing towards the road that people are walking down to get towards the spot they're going to have their anniversary. And he goes, honey, I got to tell you something. I got a phone call from my dad. It's like, I thought you were trying to keep the weird stuff away from her to not ruin the anniversary party. And he's like, I got a phone call from my dad. And she's like, oh, that's weird. And he's like, yeah, I know it's weird. And then she goes, well, I guess it was just a prank. And he's like, yeah, it was probably just a prank. It's weird. The acting in this movie isn't that good, but I think it's fun. You can get over the acting very easily because there's a lot of fun scenes. There's jokes, dad jokes. One, for example, is they're outside one night. One joke is they're outside on the first night they're recording and they're listening to birds, and then you hear a bird. And then Jan goes, I think that was a catbird. And Ron's like, oh, there's catbirds? I didn't know that. And he goes, are there dog birds? And he's like, does the dog birds chase the catbirds? Just awful dad jokes throughout this entire movie from Ron. But it keeps you in it. Keeps you having fun. It keeps you excited. And there's glimpse of spooky stuff, like I said. The barn scraping. The dad's phone call. There's a ghost owl that you see at one point where it's just a shape of an owl with red eyes, which is really creepy. It freaked me out the first time I watched it. I was like, whoa, it sent chills down my spine. It was really weird. So stuff like that will keep you interested in the movie. But if you're looking for a heavily scary movie or a heavily eventful movie, this isn't the movie for you. It's the story's slow and not too long. But if you're not in it for the long haul, you might lose interest. But don't worry, it gets crazy because they had the party. Nothing really happens during the party. After party, though, they're ready to go. Everyone left except for Jan and Ron because it's their property. And they're like, all right, it's time to go in. And then they hear Allie in the woods. And Ron's like, what was that? Was that Allie? How did he get in the woods? And Jan's like, I don't know. And Ron's like, well, we got to go get him. Because he means so much to Ron. It's a connection to his dead dad. He has all this emotional connection to Allie. So they go out to the woods. Nothing really happens. They're walking along. They go pretty deep into the woods. Then they find Allie on a log. And he's like, how did he get all the way out of here? And Jan's like, I don't know. And then he hands Allie to Jan. Jan put Allie in a pocket. And then they start walking back towards where they think they came from. Because at this point, they're lost. They went so deep and it's pitch black outside because all this happens at night. They get lost, and Jane and Ron goes like, well, we'll go this way, and maybe we'll get into a clearing or find a road, something that might indicate us indicate us to where we can get back to where we live. And Jan's like, all right, that sounds like a good plan. So they start walking. After a little while, they hear Allie in front of them, and Jane's like, what? And she reaches in her pocket. She's like, I guess he fell out. And Ron's like, that makes no sense. We've been walking in a straight line. How is Allie in front of us? And she's like, I don't know. And he's like, well, let's go check it out. So they walk up there, and then Ron's leading, and they get there, and it's his dad. His dead dad's there holding Allie, and his dad points away, and Ron's like, what the? And then all of a sudden, this is the craziest part. From behind Ron comes aliens. Yeah, aliens. I don't know where. This is an alien film now. I thought it was a horror, ghost, spirit, demons. No, it's an alien film now. And they run away from the aliens. They run. This whole movie picks up at like the last 15 minutes of the movie. It just picks up like that. But they run away from the aliens. A lot of stuff happens. And then they get abducted. They get abducted by the aliens. And that's how the movie ends. They get abducted by the aliens. You go to the alien ship. The alien says some stuff. I'm not going to ruin what the alien says. And then the movie ends. It's crazy. It's really crazy. It's a pretty great movie, I think. I think it's worth a watch. But that's just me. Like I said, the story is slow. The acting isn't very good. The meat of the movie happens like the last 15, 20 minutes of the movie. It's an hour and 17 minutes, I think. So like I said, if you're looking for a fast-paced, hit-hard, action-packed movie, I wouldn't recommend this one because it's going to be slow. It's going to be put out in pieces, and it's just going to be not what you're looking for. But I think if you're looking for a good-hearted movie with a lot of love put into it, I think this is a movie for you. The making of this movie, it was made by Ron Sewerscreens, who's Canadian. You don't know that it's made in Canada, and you won't know that until one part. Because I thought this was an American movie all the way through until one part when they're going into the woods at the end, and the girl goes, wow, it's quite dark out here, eh? And I was like, what? Is this Canadian? And that's the only part that lets it slip that it's Canadian. But it's made by Ron Sewerscreens. He's the writer and director. He's the main star of the film. He does most of it. It's a found footage film. So he does most of the recording. He does most of the heavy work. He does most of it all. His wife, Jan Sewerscreens, they play husband and wife, and in real life, they're husband and wife. And she's the co-star. She helped produce it. She also helped with the writing. Ron is a visual effect artist. He has worked on a lot of big movies. Most notably is Prince and the Frog, the SpongeBob movie from 2004, the original SpongeBob movie. And my favorite that he's worked on as a visual effects is he's worked on the original Space Jam, the OG 1990s Space Jam. And I love that fact that this guy made this movie and also worked on some great movies. And his crew assists of a lot of notable workers that worked in the industry. Not a lot of big movies they worked on. The only other big name that he had was Dan Turner, which is he's the VFX lead in this movie. And he's worked on multiple movies with Ron. So he's worked on SpongeBob, he's worked on Prince of the Frog, he's worked on Space Jam, he's worked on a lot of movies Ron had worked on. But other than that, there's not very many notable names in this movie because it's such a small budget movie. The Passion Project movie. I gotta say the other notable name that I want to say is Natalie Gugushi Turner. She worked with stop motion. She was a stop motion lead. The aliens are stop motion in the woods, and they're beautiful. They're not the best stop motion. They're not a Tim Burton style stop motion or stuff like that, or the people who made Caroline stop motion, but they're fun. They're classic fun stop motion, and I just wanted to give her a shout out for that because I loved the aliens in the woods. Fun stop motion. And I wanted to give a shout out for her for doing that. It's a low budget movie. Like I said, it's a found footage movie, so it's obviously going to be a low budget movie. Because the best movies to make that are low budget are found footage, because you can shoot it all yourself. You can pretty much edit it yourself and stuff like that. He had a small team behind him. The people who distributed / produced it was Ron's company, the Haunted Lodge production. So far, the only movie the Haunted Lodge production has made is The Who Incident. I haven't seen anything where they're going to make anything else, or if Ron has anything else in the works or anything like that. So I'm assuming this is probably maybe the only movie they're going to release. But it was worth it. I loved it. They have a YouTube, which I'll put in the description, which does a little bit of behind the scenes. It talks a little bit about the movies. Not very much on their YouTube account. And my thoughts on this movie is that it's a great movie. This movie has a lot of heart put into it, and you can tell by looking at it, even with the bad acting. you can get past the bad acting because this movie just has a lot of heart and soul put into it to the point of like, this is a fun movie. And it's sad that I can say that about this movie because, like, if they would do this with blockbuster movies nowadays, where they just put their heart and soul and their time into it, blockbuster movies are amazing. Like, this isn't a great movie by any standard. This movie isn't a good movie. This movie isn't a great movie. The acting's bad. The slow pace is kind of annoying. But like, they put so much heart and soul into it. Like, you can tell they loved making this movie. You can tell that they had a great time making this movie. And because of all that, this is a good movie. If you're a film enthusiast or just somebody who likes watching movies and you don't mind a slower paced movie, I recommend watching this movie 100%. But saying that, my rating for this movie is going to be a little bit low because of that. Because it is a slow movie, has long parts of nothing happening. The acting is bad. So my rat rating is going to be low. This movie's only going to get 4 out of 10 rats because of that. I wish I can give it more. I wish that I could give it so much more. Like, I want to give this movie 10 out of 10 rats, but I just can't because it's not for everybody. It's not for everybody. It's a great love passion project for a couple of people who are film and they love it and they want it to be put out there and they want their time to be used in a helpful, fun way. But a lot of people want great movies to watch, and this is not a great movie. It's a love passion project. It's a passion project to no end. To me, it's a beautiful passion project. To others, it might not be. If I could give it 10 out of 10 rats, I would. In my heart, it gets 10 out of 10 rats. But I can't let my heart dictate what movies I watch or what I talk about. Because if I let my heart dictate that, then I won't be watching something good as this. I'd be watching something like The Forest thinking it's good, but it's not, because The Forest is not good. But that's my rating. I give it 4 out of 10 rats. I recommend watching it and giving it your own credits because, like I said, in my heart, it's a 10 out of 10 movie. It's better than most modern movies been put out there. Like, and that's hard to say because, like, you figure most modern movies, blockbuster movies, are like, oh, it's a great movie. They're not. Most blockbuster movies are terrible nowadays. But this movie came out 2023, and it has such a heart to it, a soul to it. It's just such a project they poured their time into that you can just tell this movie is delicious. And that's my thoughts. That's the story, the bulk of the story of the movie. And I hope y'all enjoyed it and hope y'all come back. I would recommend go watching it. I highly recommend go watching it. Leave a comment. Just tell me what your thoughts are. Tell me if I feel like I'm wrong. If you feel like it should have got higher rat ratings. Just tell me how you feel. And that brings us to the conclusion of this movie. In the description, I put a link to the Haunted Lodge production website and their YouTube channel. So please go check it out. Go watch the movie. It's free to watch on Tubi. It's a beautiful passion project. Next week, we're diving into Deep Sea Mutant Snake, which is a foreign film. It's about a woman investigating a corporation about the death of her fiance. But when she starts looking into it, stuff goes awry. Sounds interesting, and I can't wait to talk about it and give you all my thoughts on it. Once again, thank you for diving deep into the sewers of Hollywood to find movies with me. Y'all have a nice week.